What's up, A to Z Sports live on a Thursday, and we're gonna have a fantastic conversation today. I'm guessing that Sam, nobody's gonna be in their feeling today during this conversation about the Titans and the potential, the idea of the Ohio State Buckeyes trying to steal Mike Vrabel away from the Tennessee Titans. Why are we talking about this? Well, because Joe Rexrode at The Athletic wrote what I thought was a very fascinating, well done column over at The Athletic on yesterday. And Sam and I both read that, and we will talk through the situation here. Now, our question is going to be buy or sell, right? Are you going to buy or sell this idea of Ohio State trying to steal Mike Vrabel? So, I think it's going to be a fascinating conversation. I don't really know where Titans fans are going to be at on this, but I don't know where Mike Vrabel would be at on this. But we're going to go through some of what Joe Rexrode wrote at The Athletic and talk about it as well, and especially some things that I think about Joe Rexrode that I think are meaningful to this conversation as well. So we'll get to that here shortly, and then Sam and I and all of you guys on the chat will preview the Titans-Eagles matchup. What's the most important storyline for this Titans-Eagles game coming up on Sunday? We talked a lot about Treylon Burks and A.J. Brown. Sam, you talked to Treylon Burks some yesterday in the locker room, so we'll also talk about other storylines, including some injuries where players are coming back from injuries on both sides of this. Before we get to the Magic Bucket, Sam is in for Zach today. Zach's got a meeting later this morning that conflicted with the show. But Zach will be back tomorrow on a Friday. Sam, welcome in. Thanks for jumping on.
Happy to jump on. I keep jumping on these Thursday shows, Austin, where
Zach just dodges Magic Buckets.
He does. I keep noticing this, that every time you're like, hey, you're going to be on Monday or whatever it is, I always wind up getting plopped in on the Thursday before it too. So I keep getting punished by the Magic Bucket. I can't escape it. Nope. But yeah, welcome in to A to Z Sports. And before we get going, make sure everybody out there that is watching with us this morning shares the show. So if you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit the share button. If you're watching on YouTube, take the link, send it to a friend, retweet us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. However it is you consume today's show, make sure you are spreading the love. We want to get more Titans fans involved in our discussion. As Austin mentioned, kind of in our feels, maybe in this morning's discussion with Mike Vrabel, the Ohio State talks, but let's get more people involved. Share the show before we get going.
Absolutely. So let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He's Sam Phelan in today for Zach Bingham, our Titans reporter at A2ZSports.com. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find links to the show on our Twitter timeline, and also hit us up on Instagram and TikTok as well. We got to thank our sponsors because they truly do make it happen for us, and they help out you guys, especially around this holiday season with Wilson County Hyundai. Deals are to be had at wilsoncountyhyundai.com and in Lebanon, so make them a part of your new car buying process. Once again, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plan. That's better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call them for a free case consultation. Their number, 800-800-4600. So, Sam, this will be an interesting conversation today because Joe Rexrode of The Athletic, for a reason that I don't know, and I probably should have texted Joe and be like, hey, Joe, why'd you pick Wednesday morning, November 30th to write this column about Mike Vrabel's Ohio State, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it came down to the fact that we all watched the game this weekend, Michigan, Ohio State. I saw Big Ten Jeff was in our chat saying, like, Ryan Day is our coach. We know that he has those. Jeff's an Ohio State guy, right? I'm not.
That's right. You're correct. There. Yes.
The premise of this article by Joe Rexrode is important here because he's not talking about it happening immediately. It was more of, I think, Joe sitting at home watching that Michigan-Ohio State game, watching Ohio State just get out-coached and outplayed by Michigan for a second consecutive season. There being some truth now potentially to Jim Harbaugh's claims about Ryan Day, where he said it's a guy that was born on third base and thought he hit a triple. And that's kind of what Ohio State has looked like here with Ryan Day. He's going to be the coach of Ohio State next season. But at what point, if you go into next year and you get beat by Ohio State again, which is what Rexrode was operating under, the assumption that Michigan beats them a third time in a row. Big assumption to make, of course. But if they were to move on from Ryan Day, what direction do they look in? And Joe Rexrode put together the assumption that if Ohio State was smart, they should reach out to the Titans for Vrabel. So I think that's the timing of the article, is watching that game this past weekend, realizing the state of the union for Ohio State football at this point, and thinking, where do they go from here if Ryan Day continues to fall short at the goal line every season?
Yeah, for sure. And Jerry Lowe on Facebook says it's a silly conversation. I don't think it's a silly conversation at all. I don't either. So let's go to a blurb from Joe Rexrode's article here in a second. And I do want to say this, like, who is Joe Rexrode, right? I've gotten to know Joe Rexrode since he arrived in Nashville. I want to say 2016, 2017, whatever that timing might have been. But Rexrode came from Big Ten country. He was the beat reporter for Michigan State for a long time there. And so he's got that proximity of covering Michigan State, which means you also have to know a lot about Ohio State and how that athletic department works and the intricacies around the Big Ten powers, which right now are just Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan State used to be a part of that. So I do think Rexrode has a very good grasp of what Ohio State is. So let's show this blurb here from Joe Rexrode's article yesterday on The Athletic. It says, quote, Mike Vrabel's Ohio State. Get used to the idea. It's more than an Ohio State's fan fantasy, by the way, OSU loyalists. If at least half of your message board threads right now don't have Vrabel in them, what are you even doing? And it should not inspire scoffs of dismissal from Tennessee Titans fans. It should inspire reviews of the liquidity of the financial assets of Titans owner Amy Adams Strunk. Keep that checkbook handy. I don't know for sure that Vrabel would take the job at his alma mater if offered. I know Ohio State should offer, and anything, Vrabel wants to take it. And I wouldn't totally rule out all these things happening in the matter of weeks as opposed to months. So, Sam, there's a lot to that. What do you think about the end there, weeks, months, the timeline of this? How do you feel about that part of it?
That is the one part I think I have an issue with in terms of like the realistic aspect of Mike Vrabel potentially getting poached by Ohio State. It's what I said earlier. I don't see it happening this season. I don't think Ryan Day has put enough of a resume together to warrant moving on from him. Like, one loss to Michigan does not make Ryan Day a fireable college head coach at this point. So I think you have to ride it out with Ryan Day again next season. I mean, we're still sitting here going into conference championship week with Ohio State having a chance to get into the college football playoff. So like, that is where they're at with Ryan Day right now. It's not out of the question. And, but I do agree with Joe Rexrode in that middle segment where he said it should not get scoffs of dismissal from Tennessee Titans fans. And when I look at the chat, there's a lot of scoffs of dismissal. But if we have learned anything in years past with this coaching circle, it is that money talks. And I think it would be foolish to overlook the idea. That's not to say Mike Vrabel's a goner, that he's certainly going to go there, that he'll definitely accept the job. But it would make sense for Ohio State, and it might make sense for Mike Vrabel, depending on how the next year or two plays out in Tennessee and in Ohio State. You also have to keep in mind, like, I don't know what the state of the Tennessee Titans is at the end of next season. Like, where are you with your quarterback situation? Where are you with your payroll? And with, like, have you lost a lot of your impact players? You might not have Derrick Henry. Like, the state of things will matter. And Mike Vrabel's going to have to consider that just as much as Amy Adams Strunk will when she's factoring in what kind of contract offer she's giving Mike Vrabel. But
Right.
money talks. And everybody said this about Jim Harbaugh when he was coaching the San Francisco 49ers, that, well, he's in the NFL with a successful situation and he makes the playoffs every year and he would never go back to Michigan. Why would he stoop down that way? And the Wolverines athletic department put together an offer he couldn't refuse. And turns out, not only is Jim Harbaugh a great college head coach, he kind of quite enjoys being a college head coach.
Yes. So let's, Sam, I agree with a lot of things you said there. We're going to ask this question to get all the chat more involved because, I do think, why would you downgrade? And is Ohio State a downgrade from the Tennessee Titans? If you're Jim Harbaugh, he thought that the 49ers going from there to Michigan was not a downgrade. So we're going to ask this question. Sam's already posted it in the chat. Buy or sell the idea that Ohio State could come after Mike Vrabel. So again, we're not asking this question. Let's just be real here before you guys comment. We're asking about the idea that Mike Vrabel could be approached by Ohio State, not the idea that Mike Vrabel would leave the Titans for Ohio State, but the idea that Ohio State would come after Mike Vrabel. That is the question we want you guys to answer in a buy or sell answer. But first, let me tell you guys about our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. I tell you what, you can buy or sell a car at Wilson County Hyundai. They will take your old car. If you're looking for a new car, then they will buy your old car and then flip around and sell you that brand new Hyundai that you're looking for, and the top-notch technology that the Hyundai has, the self-parking, the great gas mileage, all the features that the Hyundai has in this day and age. Go to wilsoncountyhyundai.com. It's in Lebanon, which means you're also going to save money on both sides of that transaction because you're not paying those downtown prices like you see in other dealerships. So go see our friend Payne Bone and his team in Lebanon at Wilson County Hyundai and let them get you right for this holiday season. Once again, wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Today's show is powered by the King of Sportsbooks, and the King of Sportsbooks is, of course, BetMGM, because BetMGM offers a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football when you use promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app. So we have a good slate of NFL action coming up in Week 13. I was previewing the schedule myself yesterday, kind of looking ahead to some of the matchups. There's a lot of good ones out there. So whether it's something on Sunday, Thursday night football, place a bet on pro football, use promo code ATOZ Sports on BetMGM, and that bet is risk-free up to $1,000 when you use the King of Sportsbooks.
Absolutely. So the question we're asking here, do you buy or sell the idea that Ohio State could come after Titans head coach Mike Vrabel? Sam, I will send you to the chat in YouTube and Facebook. What's everybody saying here?
Yep, we got Steven saying sell. We got Tighten Up saying sell. Grim Jim is buy. Deshaun is sell. Let's see. Andrew is buy. Jarrell is sell. Brad is buy. Andre is buy. Big Ten Jeff says sell or would go after Luke Fickell first. Well, Luke Fickell's the head coach at Wisconsin. So
yeah.
Pulling him is going to be a little bit more difficult than it was when he was at Cincinnati, was in state. He's got a Power 5 job now, and Wisconsin is they can pay him. So,
yeah, and the thing is that a lot of times when a college team hires a coach away from another school, there's a buyout attached to Luke Fickell's Wisconsin contract.
Yeah.
That buyout has to be included in Luke Fickell and him and Ohio State working out how to repay a little bit of that back to Wisconsin in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention it, if this is happening in a timeline of after next season, you have 1 year of Luke Fickell at Wisconsin. I have a hard time seeing that happening.
Yeah.
Ever. Eddie Cardona says sell. Lane says sell. Tiffany says I buy it. They would be silly not to try and get him. Top Tier says, yes, I buy the idea. Orlando buys the idea. Ronnie, I could buy the idea. Mr. Jones is all caps sell. Donald is buy. Jacoby is buy. Grim Jim, again, is buy. Deshaun, after you clarified, is still selling on it. So buy or sell. We got a little bit of both from the chat here. Does Ohio State makes sense to go approach Mike Vrabel, Austin.
Yeah, I'm buying this. Why wouldn't they? If you're Ohio State, Ryan Day is 45-5 at Ohio State, and 2 of the 5 losses are against Michigan. He had a 2-loss season last year because they did not care about what happened after losing to Michigan. And again, Joe Rexrode's premise here is more about what if Ryan Day loses to Michigan a 3rd consecutive year. That's when the pitchforks really come out from Ohio State side of things. And if you're Ohio State, or if you are a fan of name insert college team, Sam, you're an Illinois guy. I'm a Tennessee guy. Big Ten Jeff's Ohio State guy. If you're a fan of that program and that program that you love and that you maybe donate money to is struggling at the head coaching position and losing to your biggest rival 3 years in a row when you think you have the better roster, you think you've got the better players, but your head coach is being outcoached by the Jim Harbaugh, the rival there, and you have in the NFL one of your former players, an Ohio State or your school legend, who is a head coach in the NFL with a head coach of the year trophy on his mantle, you go after that guy, right?
Yeah.
Like if my version of this, I don't know who this guy, that Tennessee doesn't really have a coach, but if there's a Tennessee legend who is a reigning NFL coach of the year and Josh Heupel ain't getting it done and Josh Heupel's getting out coached by Billy Napier, I'm going after that Tennessee legend who's the NFL coach of the year from a year ago. Why would you not?
No, there's no reason why you wouldn't. I mean, and that's what it comes down to is it makes all the sense in the world for Ohio State should they get to a point where they're done with Ryan Day at head coach. Mike Vrabel is on the short list, maybe the very first guy on the list that you reach out to when you've seen that he has experience kind of being around the program, not just as a player, but as a coach, kind of after graduation, that he has grown into the NFL coach of the year, that he has experience connecting on a personal level with players, building up culture is the thing that Mike Vrabel does so well at the NFL level. That's the kind of thing that translates to the collegiate level. And this is not to say, Austin, Mike Vrabel's going to accept the job. It's not to say that when Ohio State calls him that he won't say, you know what, I'm happy here. I'm loyal to Miss Amy. I want to stay in Tennessee and win a Super Bowl because that's my goal as a head coach.
Yeah,
that might happen. But Ohio State would be foolish not to reach out. And I think it's just as foolish to dismiss the idea that Mike Vrabel wouldn't consider it or get asked and that money doesn't talk. Because that is what it comes down to at the end of the day is I'm pretty sure every collegiate player that has aspirations of coaching someday kind of dreams of coaching their alma mater and being the head coach at their alma mater on a fat, cushy contract and leading them to a college football championship.
Yeah,
that feels like kind of an ideal scenario. And you don't know what Mike Vrabel's aspirations are in terms of being a collegiate head coach.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Either way, you can't dismiss it. And Joe Rexrode, if you haven't read the column, read the column before you dismiss any of this. It's very well written with a great level of self-awareness by Rexrode as to the sensitivity of the situation while also trying to be realistic. So very much worth the read if you haven't read it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Jesse Bailey has a funny typo in this, but it makes sense. He goes, "This is a silly topic. How about Ohio State go and hire Eddie George is who he meant, who is a pretty gorgeous human being if you are objectively speaking the truth about Eddie George. But Eddie George is the current head coach at TSU, and Eddie George does not have a coaching pedigree to this point that Mike Vrabel is. Not even close. And so, again, that's why I did not mention Peyton Manning in my Tennessee hypothetical, because Peyton Manning has never coached in the NFL a day in his life. Mike Vrabel's in his 5th year as an NFL head coach and is the reigning NFL coach of the year. So he's doing it at such a high level, and he's coached at Ohio State before as a positional coach. And so that's why that Ohio State should do this. Now, I also have I have 2 wrinkles that I want to get to. The second wrinkle will be about whether Mike Vrabel would want to make that move from the NFL to college. And we'll get to that here in a second. But another wrinkle is the relationship between Mike Vrabel and Ryan Day. Because saying this was before you were covering the Titans, but Mike Vrabel attempted to hire Ryan Day as his first offensive coordinator at once he was named head coach of the Tennessee Titans. That was when Ryan Day was still under then Ohio State head coach Urban Meyer. And so there is a relationship between Ryan Day and Vrabel. Ryan Day would then become the Ohio State head coach before Vrabel was looking for another offensive coordinator. And so the opportunity did not represent itself in that situation. And there's photos. I saw them this morning as I was grabbing those Mike Vrabel pictures. There's photos as recent as this past March when Mike Vrabel was at the Ohio State Pro Day chopping it up with Ryan Day. So in this scenario, Ryan Day would need to be fired. And then Ohio State would then have to come after Mike Vrabel. And if you know how college coaching changes work, you don't fire a guy like Ryan Day without already having your next home run hit lined right up, ready to sign immediately. Ryan Day's 45-5. He's been to the college football playoff. He's been to and won Big Ten championships. He's had Heisman Trophy contenders, right? He's done a lot of really good things. The only reason why you would get rid of Ryan Day is if you have somebody in waiting that is the next guy to take you to the next level to win a championship like Urban Meyer did. So there's a conflict there of that relationship. Sam, do you think that has anything to do with it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, Mike Vrabel is a loyal guy, and he's a guy that values his personal relationships with both other coaches and players, all kinds. And sometimes I know Titans fans this season have been upset with Mike Vrabel for potentially being too loyal when it comes to Todd Downing and the way that he has backed and supported his offensive coordinator and the rest of his coaching staff. This is not a guy that likes to throw anybody under the bus. He values his relationships. He is a stand-up guy in that regard. So I do think that plays a factor. I mean, again, I'm not, nobody's saying it's going to happen. I think there's a lot of things that would need to happen for Mike Vrabel to consider making the move. One of those things is really to have the situation in Tennessee get worse from here on out. Like, I don't see, if Mike Vrabel is a perennial 11-12 win coach and they're making the playoffs and he feels good about where they're at as a team, I'm not sure I see him making the move either. If things take a step back in the next year or two where he looks up and says, well, we might not have Derrick Henry to rely on anymore.
Yeah, pause there, because that's where I want to get with this next wrinkle. If Ohio State came knocking, would Mike Vrabel consider it? Would he take it? That's where I want to get to here in a second, because I do think the timing of what you're saying, where you're about to head, is very important here, and we'll get into that too. But let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get injured, you have to know where to go to get back to health, because nobody likes those lingering injuries. So don't wait. I waited too long this summer to go get my foot checked out at the Bone and Joint Institute. I have plantar fasciitis. They gave me what I needed. I feel much better now. I should have done it like 3 weeks earlier than I actually did it. But yeah, that's what happens, especially when you're a dumb guy sometimes. But know where to go, boneandjointtn.org. That's boneandjointtn.org.
Want to tell you about BetMGM real quick, because BetMGM has a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football. That means if you place a bet on pro football, it doesn't hit. As long as that bet is not above $1,000, you're getting that money back into the account to go place again on a new bet and see if you can win again. You get multiple chances at it. And the way to do that is by using promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app. So use the king of sportsbooks and use promo code ATOZ Sports for a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older. Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification, eligible requirements. Rewards issued knowledgeable for bets. Start credit for bets expire 7 days. For problem game support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So Sam, we're talking through the Joe Rexrode story, and again, I'll throw this up here to about Mike Vrabel and Ohio State. So Mike Vrabel's Ohio State, get used to it. It's more than an Ohio State fantasy. And it should not inspire scoffs of dismissal from Tennessee Titans fans. It should inspire reviews of the liquidity of the financial assets of Titans controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk. Keep that checkbook handy. That's some of what Joe Rexrode wrote at The Athletic yesterday. So, Sam, I think there's three key factors that come into if Ohio State comes knocking, does Mike Vrabel consider it? And then why would Mike Vrabel jump? You were getting to one of them. It's the timing, right? Because Derrick Henry is approaching 30. Derrick Henry is approaching the end of his contract. Ryan Tannehill is approaching the end of his contract. A lot of this core that Vrabel has had over the last 4.5 seasons will be approaching the tail ends of their career where there will be a flip, right? And I don't know when it's going to happen. And the precedent and the understanding of the timing from Rexrode is this is probably another year away, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Day probably needs to lose again to Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. Then that happens. So I think what you were going there, that makes a lot of sense to me. That's a one factor for sure.
Yeah. Like you have to, where Mike Vrabel is currently, I don't think there's a reason for him to jump necessarily. Like he has his bell cow and Derrick Henry still on the offensive side. He has guys that he has grown with as the head coach of this team, guys that he drafted or guys that were young guys when he got into this building that he has really developed a great relationship with that you see on display. Now, as this roster turnover potentially begins to happen, it does come down to what Rexrode said, the funds and the liquidity of the funds of Amy Adams Strunk, where the payroll is going to be, what the roster turnover is going to look like. And then some introspection from Mike Vrabel to say, okay, do I want to do another core and another, not rebuild, but retool or what, however you want to view it, of bringing up a new core of Titans football? Or is now the time to go get the cushy contract at my alma mater and compete for a national championship in Columbus? And the timing as of right now, to me, works in a way that I would say gives another reason why Vrabel might take it. I'm not saying he would take it, but like the timing would add up where if he was being offered it right now, I don't think it happens after next year. Who knows where the state of the Tennessee Titans are? Have they gone to a Super Bowl and made a run where Mike Vrabel's like, okay, we can do this thing here? Or have they gotten bounced early in the playoffs again and now are losing Ryan Tannehill and don't really know where the franchise goes from here? That's all important. And I want to say this too. Mr. Jones says Vrabel hates recruiting. Not true.
No.
And Joe Rexrode actually addressed this in the column of saying, don't say Mike Vrabel hates recruiting, because it's a conversation Vrabel has had with Titans media off camera at press conferences when nobody's recording, of how he enjoyed his time as a coach at Ohio State and the recruiting process. And it's something that Mike Vrabel has told people he's actually passionate about and has been passionate about and enjoyed. And it shouldn't come as a surprise to you, because if you've met Mike Vrabel, if you know Mike Vrabel, if you've observed Mike Vrabel, you see how important relationships to players are with him. And that's something that you can do in recruiting, which I think is a really fascinating aspect of a college job, of being able to connect with an 18-year-old high school prospect, develop him, help him get to where he wants to go and achieve his dreams, and form those relationships. So that's a misnomer about Mike Vrabel. I think recruiting actually would be something he's very, very down to do.
Yeah, I agree. So the first factor was the situation with the Titans' current core and roster and the timing of that transition, where Vrabel might be intrigued by Ohio State. Then the second idea was the money, right? I think, Mike Vrabel's contract and salary as Titans head coach is not disclosed. Let's just pretend for a second that it's $5 million a year. That's probably on the higher end, for the most part, of NFL head coaching salaries. At $5 million a year, Ohio State can blink twice and double that with ease. Lane Kiffin just got an average of $9 million a year at Ole Miss. Like, Ohio State could triple Mike Vrabel's head coaching salary if they wanted to. And if we're talking about this a year from now, that money's just going to get bigger. Because I don't know if you guys saw this last night, but the Tournament of Roses, their prestigious ass, just said, okay, let's expand the playoff in 2024. So when the expanded playoff comes in at 2024, what happens? They expand that money, baby. So if they're going to go from 4 teams to 12 teams, that's triple the playoff money. That's a lot of freaking money coming in to these Power 5 conferences. Ohio State's already loaded rich. Now they got even more money. They can quadruple Mike Vrabel's contract for all I care. I mean, that's the state of college football when you have it like Ohio State. Somebody commented earlier, says it's so hard to get an NFL job. Yeah, that's true. Is it harder to get an NFL job or is it harder to get an Ohio State job? Because Ohio State's had how many coaches in the last 2 decades?
Yeah, I mean
3, and 2 of them ended. Why? Because of scandal. Jim Tressel wasn't going anywhere until something happened that needed to happen. Then Urban Meyer was winning. He wasn't going anywhere until he started having heart palpitations again because his assistant coaches were doing bad things. And Ryan Day is 45-5. And the only reason he's going anywhere is because Jim Harbaugh is whipping his ass and Mike Vrabel's sitting there as an NFL head coach of the year.
Yeah, I mean, it is very hard to get an NFL head coaching gig. It's very, 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 very rare your alma mater is knocking on the door, willing to give you a blank check to coach them while they're in a national championship era. And that could very well be the opportunity Mike Vrabel is presented by Ohio State. It just doesn't happen. And because the good college head coaches coach forever. And so when you're that 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid playing in a Buckeye uniform, wanting to go into coaching, thinking about, man, it would be really cool to come back here and coach someday, you don't really imagine having that opportunity because some guys just never get the opportunity. So I would say Mike Vrabel could have gotten one of 32 NFL jobs and been happy he was making the jump to the NFL head coaching circle. There's really only one college head coaching job that really probably piques his interest, and it is Ohio State. It's a rare opportunity that is very, very hard to come by. And if you don't take it now, then you have to ask yourself, well, what if they hire a guy that is there for 20 years? That is there, and you don't know when it's going to be available again. And by the way, the NFL is always available. The NFL is always knocking for a guy like Mike Vrabel that now has the pedigree of an NFL head coach that has won Coach of the Year, where he went back to Ohio State and it didn't work. Somebody in the NFL would scoop him back up and hire him in a flash, and he could bounce right back up to building an NFL team if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's a once-in-a-lifetime potentially offer that he could be faced with, which is why you should not dismiss the possibility of it becoming reality.
Yeah, I'm with you. And so the last part is I do think so. Just to kind of recap here, my 3 factors that I think would really make Mike Vrabel have a tough decision to leave the Titans for Ohio State. If is a big if, right? We understand that if is the ultimate thing, prerequisite here. One is the fact that the Titans are going to have a turnover of core from the player standpoint and somewhat of a rebuild / reset. 2, the money is so much bigger at Ohio State than it is with the Tennessee Titans. And there's zero subjectivity to that. That is flat out the truth. Way more money at Ohio State than with the Tennessee Titans. And then number 3 is the difference of the jobs. And so I think, and I heard Mickey Ryan talking about this yesterday with Blaine Bishop and Sam, they mentioned that you guys had a conversation about this in the press box on Sunday, even before Rexrode wrote this article about Ryan Day and Vrabel, and if Vrabel would want to go into the college game. Like Mike Vrabel is a football-holic, right? Football-holic. Mike Vrabel is going to do football all hours that he can possibly do it. His kids are grown, so there's not the I got to go watch my sons play baseball anymore. So what's he going to do? He's already, he knows he's already at the facility and talked about sleeping at the facility and coaching this team to a detriment of his family a couple of years ago. So what's the difference for Mike Vrabel in doing football in the NFL and doing football in college? He is still committing every waking hour of his life to football at this point. So, I mean, maybe more travel. But again, he loves the relationship aspect, And I think he would like going about recruiting just like when he was recruiter of the year in college football, according to 24/7 Sports, when he was at Ohio State. Everybody who says Mike Vrabel doesn't want to recruit forgets that 10 years ago, he was the recruiter of the year in college football, named by the recruiting outlet.
Yeah, no, it may, like you said, it's a lot of ifs, but I think logically it also makes a lot of sense, and I think that's why Joe Rexrode wrote the column in the first place. It's why we're sitting here having this discussion, because I saw somebody said, "Guys, stop! You're gonna make me sad." Pistol Ramsey says, "I'll cry maybe," as you should. I mean, it would be a very, very sad day in Tennessee Titans history if Mike Vrabel left the Titans to go coach in college, and the Strunk family, Amy Adams Strunk, if they let him out the door, like, because he is a guy that deserves a blank check. Like, you pay Mike Vrabel whatever it takes to keep him. It would be a very, very sad day, but I do think it's possible, and that is where we have to wait and see what Ohio State wants to do. Mike Vrabel hasn't commented on it. I like that Rexrode included in the column. Like, this is surely the type of speculation that's going to make Vrabel angry, because it is, regardless of how true or realistic it might be, he's going to hate the distraction of it. It would be a sad day for the Titans. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but we have to at least acknowledge that that could be looming, and it could be something on the top of his mind as the Titans approach this offseason and approach next season and next offseason, and they try and figure out what direction they're going here in the next couple of years.
And so we'll switch gears in a second, but Jimbo does have a good comment on Facebook. He says, if Ohio State comes knocking, we, as in the Titans, better hope the Titans are competing. If not, Vrabel's gone. And again, the reason why Ohio State would come knocking is because Mike Vrabel will always have the Titans competing like they are this year with all these injuries, like they were last year with the most players played in an NFL season with injuries. So again, like, all this is I think it's a fascinating conversation. I see Jesse and it's hating on it. I see Trey Moser says it's a wasted topic, move on. I disagree. It's fascinating to me. And I like Rexrode said it well. This is not to scoff at and dismiss for Titans fans. It's to think about, what does your ownership have in their checkbook, and what's the ability to fight off one of the richest college football programs that your head coach was an All-American at?
That point blank, period. That's it.
Yep. All right. So let's flip it. Let's talk Titans Eagles, because there are several big storylines and factors, injuries on both sides, key guys returning from injury, potentially on both sides. Obviously, AJ Brown. There's somebody, Jesse brought up a topic that he's worried about when it comes to Jalen Hurts. So let's ask you guys this question real quick: is what's the most important storyline for this Titans Eagles matchup? There's a lot here. What's the most important storyline for this Titans Eagles matchup coming up on Sunday? But first, let me tell you guys about Farm Bureau Health Plans. I'll tell you what, Farm Bureau Health Plans, they know how to treat Tennesseans right. And they've been doing it for over 75 years. If you're looking to save money on your health coverage, you should always look to save money on your health coverage. Don't just get complacent, because Zach was complacent last year, and then he was like, oh, let's just reach out to fbhp.com/ATOZ and see what happens. And what happens, he went through the process. He's saving 20% every month from his previous plan, and he's got better coverage. He's got health, dental, and vision. He can go get his contact allowance that he had to pay out of pocket for previously. He can go get his regular teeth cleanings also that he had to pay out of pocket for previously as well. So it's a great time to jump on board with Farm Bureau Health Plans. It's for anybody. If you have a family, if you're single, if you don't have a family, if you're old, if you're young, whatever it might be. If you're 25 years old, you know you got to get off your parents' plan in a year or so, your first call or your first Google should be Farm Bureau Health Plans, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, and BetMGM is offering a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football when you use the promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app. We're talking Titans Eagles, a couple of things we think might happen, a couple storylines. I'll get into what I am nervous about and one bet I think might hit for Titans Eagles. But if you have a bet in mind, place it on BetMGM and use that promo code ATOZ Sports because it is a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with the king of sportsbooks.
Now you got me intrigued. If you're teasing prop bets that I should potentially make, then Sam, I'm all in on this. All right, so what's the most important storyline for this Titans-Eagles matchup? I think if we're being honest, the biggest, most tabloid-driven storyline is obviously A.J. Brown, right? But when it comes down to who is going to win or lose this game, what is the most important storyline? And Sam, you and I went through pre-show today and talked about, some big ones, right? We came up with 6. Obviously, AJ versus the Titans is up there. Ben Jones returned to practice as a full participant yesterday. That is good news for the Titans. Jordan Davis, who is the rookie run stuffer from the Eagles, could potentially come back as well as he was on IR. He's designated to return, has not been activated yet. Then, because the Eagles did not have Jordan Davis the last month, they went and signed Ndamukong Suh. So what's the potential impact of Ndamukong Suh and Jordan Davis versus this Titans offensive line and Derrick Henry that has the running game has been struggling the last couple of weeks? Then you have Christian Fulton versus AJ. How's that going to work? And then obviously Jalen Hurts and his ability to make plays with his legs. Those are just a handful of those storylines for Titans Eagles. Sam, I'll send you to the chat before I'll get your answer later.
Yeah, I'm trying to read through this here. We still got a lot of people still caught up on the Vrabel situation right here.
People asked us to move on from Vrabel. We moved on, and now they won't stop talking about it.
But let's see. Jerry's got Fulton shutting down AJ. John thinks the offensive line. Luman says Tana Wheel's ankle. Chef Bayardi says our O-line 100%. Let's see. This is an interesting one from Andre. Can the Titans beat a good team? I do think that's an interesting one. We didn't have that in our group here, but the Titans only win against the team with a winning record is the Washington Commanders right now. So
who were not good at the time, right?
They still might not be good now, but this was the Carson Wentz Washington Commanders, not the Taylor Heineke 5-1 with Taylor Heineke Washington Commanders. So that is a very good one, Andre. That let's see. John says Burks catching a touchdown pass so he can show off to AJ Brown. I did talk to Burks, who made a great statement that should be put on Titans t-shirts everywhere that said, he's AJ, I'm Treylon. And it was, we are different people. So put it on a t-shirt. Let's say
on that.
Run from Pauly D. Have the ability to stop the run and run the ball. If not, it's a long, long day. Ken says Titans D-line versus Eagles O-line. We got to stop the run and force the Eagles to be one-dimensional. A lot of things you can really boil this game down to. Austin, I'll go ahead and hammer out my answer.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah, I'm curious.
I don't think A.J. Brown is what beats you. I don't think Devontae Smith is what beats you. I don't think you win this game or lose this game by Derrick Henry or Ryan Tannehill or any of these things. They will all play a factor. This game comes down to Jalen Hurts, and it comes down to Jalen Hurts' legs and his ability to extend plays, make plays. Because when I look at this Titans defense, I look at a defense that has been awesome since really week 3. They've been one of the best defensive units in the NFL in many, many areas, one of them being rushing yards. But you look at the games that they've lost recently, Cincinnati, Kansas City, they've lost these games because they've allowed quarterbacks to beat them with their legs. Patrick Mahomes, that last drive, that last touchdown that won them that game was him extending a play. Joe Burrow on 3rd down and 12, 13, whatever it was for Cincinnati last Sunday, found a way to extend a play with his legs, scramble for it when he had to, throw it when he needed to. And the one thing that they really haven't faced yet is a guy like Jalen Hurts, who not only maneuvers to extend a play, but he scrambles to run. He doesn't scramble to throw. Aaron Rodgers, Pat Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Joe Burrow, they all can maneuver a pocket, but they're always keeping their eyes downfield. Jalen Hurts will get you for 150 rushing yards, just like he did last week. And if the Titans can't contain up front, rushing 4 linemen and not bringing a blitz, I think it might be a very, very long day for this defense. So this is what Mike Vrabel had to say. when asked about the challenge of defending Jalen Hurts and how dynamic he is as a quarterback.
Good morning, Mike.
Hi, Teresa.
You've faced a lot of running quarterbacks this year. What makes Jalen Hurts maybe different or similar to some that you've seen?
Well, great play strength. He's decisive. He's, I would say, fast enough. I don't think he's the fastest quarterback, but he's a strong runner. But he also has the ability to, deliver from the pocket. He'll keep plays alive, going lateral. So, this is a huge challenge.
That's Mike Vrabel on Jalen Hurts, and he's not wrong. I mean, it's early morning Mike Vrabel energy, but he doesn't miss a beat there with what Jalen Hurts can do. He can kill you in the pocket, especially with the amount of weapons that he has offensively, but we've seen his legs on display. He's probably a top 5 fastest quarterback in the NFL just based off of sprint speed. That is what I'm worried about, Austin, with this game is like the Titans defense has made their bread and butter getting off the field on third down and really bending but not breaking because they've been so good on third down, where if they beat you on the first couple plays, it's hard to go anywhere. Jalen Hurts is the type of guy I feel like could give them fits with just trying to get him off the field with his ability to extend the play.
Sure. So Jesse says on Facebook, I'm sorry, but Hurts isn't a quality QB. Look at Kyler Murray last year and then this year. Just got to be the ones to figure it out. Look, I'm as fascinated as everybody to figure out why Jalen Hurts has taken a massive step forward from a year ago to this year, right? I remember watching that playoff game in Tampa last season, I believe it was, when Hurts was just throwing bad picks and just inaccurate and losing to the Bucs in Tampa in a playoff spot. And then now he's a legitimate MVP candidate because the Eagles are great. The offense is great. He's got almost 600 rushing yards. He's throwing for 2,500 yards. They're throwing touchdowns. They're scoring a bunch of points. He's not turning the ball over. He is getting sacked, though. He's been sacked 28 times, which is not a ton, but it's somewhat significant. And so I'm with you, Sam. I think this is fascinating to me, too, because the Titans lost the game to the Chiefs because they lost contain on Patrick Mahomes. They did everything right up until the last 2 drives the Chiefs had. And I think you nailed it, that Mahomes is scrambling to throw, but Mahomes also has the experience now as he's getting into his veteran years that he knows when to pick his spots. Joe Burrow knows when to pick his spots, and he's very athletic and can pick those up, where Jalen Hurts, it's such a big part of the Eagles offense is for him to run the ball, designed runs, whether it's the student body right, student body left that you saw back in middle school football. The Eagles are doing that because they have a capable quarterback who can squat 600 pounds and can take the beating and can be physical. And they have the physical ability of offensive line and tight ends that can do this well. So Danico Autry's not going to play this week. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yep.
Sam?
Yeah, very safe to say. I mean, no Jeffrey Simmons at practice yesterday. I think Jeffrey Simmons plays that should happen. But yeah, safe to say Danico Autry probably won't be out there. So you're once again dealing without him and having to piece together. I mean, we know how much they missed him against Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was so comfortable in the pocket on Sunday. It felt like he was never pressured. And I kept sitting there to myself, well, when are they going to make this guy have to move around and be uncomfortable back there? And you have to do that to Jalen Hurts. The other thing, Austin, those run plays can be explosive plays for them. That's the difference is Jalen Hurts knows how to run to throw as well and extend a play and then throw it downfield, but he can pick up 40 yards with his legs. Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, they don't really do that anymore. But that is something that the young athletic legs of Jalen Hurts bring to the table that make this team really, really dangerous.
Yeah, Billy says hit Hurts hard and he won't run as much. I don't think you've been watching Jalen Hurts. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a guy that gets, shies away from contact at all. DeMario says Hurts has improved his read progressions and not rushing or panicking, taking his eyes from field to run. He's keeping his eyes up on the wide receivers, and play calls are assisting in his huge growth. I think that's a really good comment there from DeMario. I think, there's also the fact of, and Dave McGinnis talks about this all the time, is that when you're rushing a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, like Mahomes, like Burrow, like some of these other guys, the Titans have played, Josh Allen's included in this, you have to be so disciplined in your rush lanes. You are trying to corral the quarterback. You're not trying to just knock their heads off. So if you get undisciplined in some spots, the quarterback's legs will hurt you. And the first example that pops into my mind was Patrick Mahomes' rushing touchdown when Rashad Weaver screamed around the wide side. Mahomes steps up and there's an alley and he goes. It's almost like, do you just try to methodically pass rush Hurts and just like kind of close in on him and maybe keep him inside the pocket? Try to trust as much as you possibly can your back seven, because the Titans rush 4 most of the time. Trust your back 7 to cover for long enough and just keep Hurts inside. Do not let him step up. Make him go backwards. And that's a lot easier said than done. And if you don't have Danico, that's even harder. Jeff Simmons, I feel good about, is going to play. Can he still be explosive with the ankle? I think, your other guys like Mario Edwards and Walker and some of these other Tier Tart, I think those guys can do well with that pocket push and try to catch them in a net rather than like spear them. Does that make sense?
No,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
If you're going fishing, and I don't like fishing, but the analogy works. But if you're going fishing, the net is easier than just trying to stab at one. And Rashad Weaver tried to stab at Mahomes, and Mahomes missed.
Right. Yeah, you get out of your lane. These quarterbacks are good enough to recognize it, take your lane, and hurt you with it. It is, that's the name of the game. The good news is I don't think Jalen Hurts is the passer that Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, or Joe Burrow is yet. So if there was ever a guy to kind of just like give a pocket to and try and close in on him and contain him and make him beat you with the air and trust your back 7, Jalen Hurts isn't a bad option. Now, can the Titans hang with A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins? Luckily, there's no Dallas Goedert that they have to worry about. But
which is big, right?
Yeah.
Because tight ends, and we just saw it Sunday, tight ends can hurt the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce did it a lot. So, that's a factor. But if there was ever a guy to do that too, I think it is Jalen Hurts. But that, when I think about this game and where this game might be won or lost, or where the Titans have lost games recently, it usually is tied to not being able to get off the field on third down, which usually has a lot to do with a quarterback's escapability. And I've kind of had this one circled on the calendar for a while of being like, I don't know how they handle Jalen Hurts. That'll be interesting. And it is also a good test, because what are we looking at for this playoff picture, though? Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tua. Like, those are the playoff quarterbacks in the AFC right now that the Titans are going to have to learn how to handle if they want to make a run in the playoffs.
And I do think Jalen Hurts would be a good batting donut for that. I think Hurts is a different threat than all those guys. Tua is probably the least threat worthy of the playoff quarterbacks the Titans can be facing. I'm with you on that. So,
do we count Zach Wilson? I mean,
not right now. Mike White? No.
Mike White, not really threatening? No, not doing it for you?
Yeah, just if the Titans can avoid the 4 seed, then you can feel better, right? I think that's the goal, is to shoot for that 3 spot and get the 6th team instead of the loser of the East with the Dolphins or the Bills. All right, Sam, any other of those matchups that you want to spend some more time on? Because I know, Zach's back tomorrow and then all of a sudden it's Sunday, right?
Yeah, man, we can save some of it for tomorrow. I think look, regardless of what people want to say about this game, it is going to be all about A.J. Brown and Treylon Burks one way or another. I think that's the reality of it. If A.J. Brown scores 2 touchdowns and beats the Titans, he's going to let them know. He's going to be loud. It's going to be emotional. Treylon Burks is not A.J. Brown. I don't think he wants to be compared to A.J. Brown. I wrote this in an article on A to Z Sports that you should all go read. But Treylon Burks made a statement about it, but I think he needs to have an understanding that his career, at least for now and for the first couple of years, is always going to be compared to A.J. Brown. And it should be. Like, I know they're not the same player, but when you get traded for a guy straight up, fans, media people, analysts, the NFL world in general wants to know, well, did the Titans make a massive mistake? And because they want the answers to that, Treylon Burks will be put into a vacuum with A.J. Brown and the rate of growth that we saw from A.J. Brown. But I got to tell you, I'm very, very excited about Treylon Burks. Every day I get a little bit more excited about Treylon Burks with the way that he talks, with the way people talk about him. This could have been a whole nother topic, and maybe you and Zach can dive into it tomorrow. But Mike Vrabel made a comment yesterday, asked about where has Treylon Burks grown the most in this rookie season. Mike Vrabel said his attitude. And Ryan Tannehill seconded his attitude. And it's an interesting thing because me and Teron Davenport of ESPN were in the Titans locker room last week talking to Treylon Burks, and we kind of looked at each other and said, he is fun to talk to now. Like, he is not the same timid guy that he was in training camp. Like, he is confident in his demeanor, his aura. And it's kind of like we've seen this switch go on of him understanding the NFL, understanding what it takes to succeed in the NFL, putting in the work, trusting himself and his coaches, and just putting his head down and grinding that has led to this success. And I think the switch flipped when he was down with turf toe. Like, when he was on injured reserve, he made this little mental switch go off. I am so excited about Treylon Burks and where he's at right now for the Titans. And the reason I made that tweet that compared him to A.J. Brown earlier this week is because I do think, like, when you look at A.J. Brown's rookie season, look at you. You've got it handy here.
Oh, prepared, baby.
A.J. Brown was a 1,000-yard offensive rookie of the year, all that stuff player, which Jared Stillman pointed out to me, calling me out for cherry picking stats. I don't know how you cherry pick the first 7 games of an NFL career. I pointed that out because I think the trajectory is similar, and AJ really took off around this point of his rookie season, having some big games. I feel like Treylon Burks is about to do that. Like, that's where I feel like we're at in his season, where he is confident. Ryan Tannehill's more confident in him. The rookie is about to make a lot of people very happy in Nashville.
So, Sam, we'll wrap this up because I do want to give you a shot to answer the question that Zach and I talked about yesterday with everybody watching, is that, Treylon Burks, 1 through 7 is pretty right. Is 3 yards off of AJ's productions, game 1 through 7. AJ had games 8 through 13, which would complete Burks's 13-game rookie season. He had 442 yards, which is an average of 73.6 per game. Do you think Burks goes over or under that 442 the last 6 games?
Over.
I said over as well.
I think it's an easy over. Like, I think he's the focal point of their offense now. I don't see any way around it. Like, you've been begging for the big play.
Focal point of the passing game or the offense?
Well, the passing game, okay. But like, I mean, just as much of like as AJ was to an extent of like, when you needed a play, you said, okay, where's AJ? And where they are right now, Mr. Jones says Chig is about to break out also. Chig has been doing a lot of good things, but he's still a 5th round rookie tight end, or he was 5th round, right? Mm-hmm. I think he was. Like, you still have Austin Hooper as a 3rd down threat that they like a lot. I think from now on, and you're going to see it continue to go that way for the rest of the season, you're just going to get more and more Treylon Burks opportunities. They've been begging for somebody to make the catch downfield. Well, we've been seeing it. We've seen great ball tracking, high pointing the football, contested catches, good hustle downfield. I like the video. I don't know if you saw it, Austin, of him.
It was great.
Apologizing to Mike Vrabel for not blocking, and Vrabel just slapped him on the helmet and said, who cares? You ran like hell and made up for it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, there you go.
Yeah.
But it's that type of energy that I've seen from Treylon Burks each and every day in the locker room right now, where I really could not be more bullish on him. I think it's an easy over on however many yards you said, but 70-something per game.
442, 73.6 a game average over the next 6. And the Titans do have some games where they can definitely advantageously throw the ball. You know, they're going to have to throw the ball against the Eagles, I believe. They're going to have to throw the ball against the Jags, the Chargers, and the Jags again, and probably the Cowboys. So the only time they're going to run the ball 45 more times in a game is against the Texans. So I do think there's opportunity for the Titans to get this passing game going. The Burks video with Vrabel was fantastic just because like the guy just scored his first touchdown of his NFL career in a weird, very strange way, but he walks over with the touchdown ball and is tucked in his arms and said, "Hey coach, I messed up. I'm sorry." And Vrabel's like, well, what'd you do? How'd you make up for it? It's like, yeah, well, we're going to make mistakes, but it's how you react to them. Right. And it was a really cool moment, I thought, in a spot for Burks. And to go off your point of how Burks is acting in the locker room, his initial press conferences, I remember he did a radio interview with 3HL, our buddies on the Zone, the day after the draft, before his press conference. That was your first day on the job, wasn't it? With Treylon Burks' intro presser with me. And Burks was he was fine, right? He wasn't like he was a little shy, but he was charismatic. He was opened up, talking about his family and all that. When the asthma stuff and the out of shape stuff happened, there was a lockdown. He just shut down. And now I think you're starting to see him. Now that he's got some confidence back, he's opening back up and being himself.
Yeah, and it makes sense to me. Like what the Titans are telling us about Treylon Burks matches up to what I see out of him, which is why I'm really confident in him right now. Is like I do think Mike Vrabel said a couple weeks ago, well, I think over the break he has started to trust his coaches and to trust himself and to know what it takes in this league. And maybe there was a little bit of getting used to the NFL, not realizing the speed of the NFL, the conditioning that went into the NFL when he first came into it. And when he went down, I think that switch flipped. And now we get to enjoy Treylon Burks, the talented wide receiver that we saw at Arkansas, that can be a game changer, that is humble, hardworking, and confident in his abilities to trust himself to make plays. And it's going to be a thing of beauty for the Titans. So every reason to be excited about him.
Yeah. Real quick, Dion says Burks is opening up just like his lungs. Ain't that a good thing? and then Scott said, heard Racing McMath was seen in the locker room. Sam, what can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was the one that tweeted it. I saw Racing McMath sitting at his locker room. I looked over once again, my guy TD, Teron Davenport. I was like, hey, this is the first time we've kind of seen him, right? And Teron was like, oh, Racy's here? Oh, yeah. And like, we both kind of looked at each other. I don't know what it means. I mean, we've seen guys in the locker room before that haven't played. I mean, Kyle Phillips has been in the locker room many times during his IR stint.
Outside of when he flew to California to get engaged and then he came back, right?
It was a 9-hour thing. I've talked to Kyle.
I know. I'm kidding.
Yeah, don't.
I'm kidding. I know.
I wants to get engaged. Come on now. But we saw Racy, so I don't know if it means that he's starting to work back into the building, that he's, imminently might return to practice and see what he has. We've had no update, right? We had Mike Vrabel saying, it won't be for a while, maybe by the end of the year. But I do think it's a signal of progress that we saw Racing McMath in the locker room. I hope. That's what I took out of it.
Well, I remember Jim Wyatt once said at some point this season, they're like, it may be December. And hey, it's December 1st, and you guys saw him November 30th. Maybe he's getting closer to the point. And I don't know. And I do think I read a thread on Jamar Chase's hip injury this morning, actually, about the Bengals. And Jamar Chase had to go home and rest with a hip, and Racing McMath had a hip injury. He had to literally do nothing. And so he played video games for a couple weeks to do nothing. And so if you're at the facility, it's a lot harder to do nothing. So maybe Racing McMath had to go home and do nothing for a period of time. And now he can get back into some of the rehab stuff, and being at the facility is a great time for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, that's just me taking one hip injury of Jamar Chase to a phantom hip injury that we don't know what happened with Racy. So who knows? But Kyle Phillips also not coming back this week either. It doesn't look like as well. So it'll be Treylon Burks, Robert Woods, NWI, and I guess Cody Hollister rolling out there for wide receivers for the Titans this upcoming weekend in Philly. All right, Sam, let's wrap up this Thursday show with
my
your
favorite segment.
That's right. The Magic Bucket, but Hughes and Coleman, they're the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. And if you've been injured in a car wreck, there's a one place you need to turn. That is Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers. They can get you all the money you deserve by battling that insurance company the way they've done it for over 30 years. And they've recovered over $1 billion billion for their clients across the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky. So there's one place to go. If you've been injured in a car wreck, the Titans trust them. A to Z trusts them. You should too. Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers for a free case consultation. 800-800-4600. That's the phone number. Principal office, Nashville, Tennessee.
BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks for a reason, because BetMGM offers a risk-free bet up to $1,000 on pro football when you use promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app. I just went on and on about Jalen Hurts' legs. BetMGM, I teased a bet. I did tease a bet on here. So Jalen Hurts rushing player prop is at 49.5. I love the over for Jalen Hurts' rushing player prop at 49.5 rushing yards. That is my pick for this weekend that I will be riding with Titans Eagles. But if you have a pick in mind, if you want to back my pick, if you have one of your own, if you disagree with me, that's fine. But just place it on BetMGM. That's what matters. And the promo code ATOZ Sports will make that bet risk-free up to $1,000 on the king of sportsbooks.
All right, Magic Bucket on this Thursday, Sam's favorite thing. And once again, somehow, Zach dodges the Magic Bucket yet again. I see this comment coming in. Oh, where'd it go? I just had a comment I want to read. Oh, Zach got him again. A to Z conspiracy theory. Zach doesn't like the Magic Bucket and purposely set Sam up. So
you said it. You said it, Danny, not me.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. Like, Zach could have been on the show today, but we would have had to have a hard out by like 8:55 Central Time. And we all know we got too many things to talk about because he had a meeting to get to. So he's already in that meeting. So that's fine. That's okay. So Sam, I'm gonna let you go first.
I always go first, and it's always the bad one.
Because visitors go first.
Yeah, hit me with it.
All right. Let's see.
Ugh.
Oh, this isn't too bad.
Oh, good.
Not too bad. Howl like a wolf right now. Give us your best howl like a wolf.
See, I was dog sitting last week. I'm glad I'm not dog sitting still, because that dog likes to howl when you hear somebody howl. There we go.
Good effort. Good effort.
I
like the you bought into that. I like the that is an easy one. So it's quick, you're done.
Yeah. I'm very happy with that one. Uh-oh.
I don't like this. This is just weird, guys. And I know because of the font that it's typed in, this is a Zach Bingham submission.
Oh, then it's got to be weird.
All right. I have to do this. I'm just going to do it. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. I'm just going to do it.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's the best way.
Okay.
I want to take you out to a nice seafood dinner, then head back to my place, and we'll see what happens.
Nice. Okay, that is a little bit better than just got it out of the way. It's like half the time it's like, where's this going? And then it's done, and you're okay. What does the card say?
It just says, say that line in a sexy voice into the microphone. So I had to, that's that. So Bork says, I bet Zach has his own font. Zach's font on the Magic Bucket slips are like 7 size. I don't know why. Like I type them out in like 13 or 14. But Zach does it like tiny. I don't know. I don't get it why. I don't know why. I mean, maybe it's the contacts he's got from Farm Bureau health plans that he can see better. He doesn't need this. He doesn't need the big fonts.
Yeah. See, I agree with Orlando. I'm sorry. I agree with Orlando.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna disclose that.
Okay. Yeah, right. Fair enough. That was all right. Yeah, that was a weird one, Zach. If you see the font, you should run. Probably. Yeah. Like it's probably. Yeah.
All right, that's the Magic Bucket.
At least we got it out of the way. No more like over the weekend ones, or you having to like have a Impossible Burger or whatever it was for lunch.
The Impossible Whopper from Burger King.
Yeah.
like the taste wasn't that bad. The extra mayo that you made me do, that sucked. Like that was there was a lot of extra mayo. Like I showed you I think I sent you a picture.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
if
sent me I don't know if you had the burger like open when you
unwrapped
sent
or
it to
not.
me,
But there was like there was mayo everywhere. Like, and it was awful. And I'm like, oh God.
blame
Ugh.
hey, that was a chat suggestion. I was
know.
just doing what the people wanted.
And then I just felt like crap for the next several hours because I had a really heavy ass, like 1,200 calorie.
Yeah, I
lunch.
bet you you're not used to that feeling. You eat the
No.
same scrambled eggs and salsa or whatever it is, diced tomatoes.
Scrambled eggs and salsa for lunch. Sometimes I have a Greek yogurt parfait. Sometimes I do a banana peanut butter wrap.
Yeah, you're nice to feeling nice and light on your feet. You
Look,
when you've got Whopper in there and you're gonna start,
yeah, I
get
was
sick or something.
ready for a freaking nap. All right, guys. Well, that's a great Thursday show. I know I'm sure we pissed a lot of people off with the Mike Vrabel Ohio State conversation, but tomorrow we'll look closer and closer to Titans Eagles. Zach will be back on the show tomorrow morning on a Friday. Don't forget, you're headed back to Titans practice again today for more press conferences and locker room conversations. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of that content. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching right now on Facebook or YouTube and you haven't liked the show yet, what are you doing? Give the show the thumbs up. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, whatever you're on, if you haven't liked it, do it already. If you're on YouTube, you have to hide the live chat. Then you hit the like button. But do that for us. We'd appreciate it as always. And as always, we will see you guys tomorrow morning on a Friday. Buck Rising live tonight, A to Z Sports Primetime at 8. See you soon. Thanks, guys.